Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 7, Text 22. Arjuna Vacha Krishna Krishna Mahabaho Bhaktanam Abhayankara Tvameko Dahyamananam Apavargosi Samsrutehe. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Arjuna said, "My dear Lord Sri Krishna, you are the Almighty Personality of Godhead. There is no limit to your different energies. Therefore, only you are competent to instill fearlessness in the hearts of your devotees. Everyone in the flames of material miseries can find the path of liberation in you only." Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Arjuna was aware of the transcendental qualities of the Lord Sri Krishna as he had already experienced them during the Kurukshetra war, in which both of them were present. Therefore, Arjuna's version of Lord Krishna is authoritative. Krishna is almighty and is especially the cause of fearlessness for the devotees. A devotee of the Lord is always fearless because of the protection given by the Lord. Material existence is sometimes like a blazing fire in the forest, which can be extinguished by the mercy of the Lord Sri Krishna. The spiritual master is a mercy representative of the Lord. Therefore, a person burning in the flames of material existence may receive the rains of mercy of the Lord through the transparent media of the self-realized spiritual master. The spiritual master, by his words, can penetrate into the hearts of the suffering person and inject knowledge, transcendental, which alone can extinguish the fire of material existence. So today we shall discuss from Canto 1, Chapter 7, entitled The Son of Drona Punished, Text 22. So let's take a review of the previous verses and later continue today's discussion. So we all have heard in the previous classes that how Suta Goswami very nicely explains, very beautifully narrates the conversation between Srila Narada Muni and Vyasadeva to the assembled sages, to the assembly of 33,000 sages who had assembled in Naimisharanya. And we also had heard that how Shaunak Muni, who presided the entire gathering, entreated Suta Goswami to explain them further about the birth and activities and pastimes of Parishit Maharaj. So Suta Goswami, after hearing this request, he continues saying that how the son of Drona, Ashwatthama, beheaded the 5 sons of Draupadi. It was such an heinous act. Practically he murdered them so brutally, and out of great fear he fled from in his chariot. And he saw that Arjuna is chasing him at the speed of wind. And the time came when he could not escape anymore from the view of Arjuna. Considering that there is no other option, no other alternative to protect himself, he used all of his powers and released Brahmastra against Arjuna. Arjuna immediately felt a sense of heat. It was so frightening, it was so dreadful. He was also knowing the same art. He could have contracted the Brahmastra weapon, Ashwatthama's Brahmastra weapon, with his own Brahmastra weapon, but he didn't do that. Rather, he surrendered himself to Supreme Lord and asking blessings, asking protection from him. So that is all the sloka that today we'll be discussing today. But if you see people in the material world who face miseries varieties of miseries and anxieties, and every step of our daily life we go on experiencing it, facing it. But what we do is, we find various ways and means to camouflage the miseries and the anxieties and keep within, and not letting anyone know about my problems, my sufferings, but trying to put up a big show, trying to put up a big mask, saying that I am fine, everything is good, well going on. Prabhupada always used to say that if you go to intensive care unit in the hospitals, and if you ask a patient there who is suffering, how are you? Obviously he would say, I am fine. But we can see in the present day, the people, they may be very rich, very wealthy. They may be having so much of wealth, and they may be very strong enough. They have name, fame, they are very big people, celebrities, bureaucrats. They are on top of their the services, social services. And those people, they think that we are very fine and everything is well going on, and nothing problem with us, within us. So Prabhupada says that, but in one sense we have to understand that we are all suffering from within. And that suffering is, Bhagavatam says, Atura chittanam matra sparsha ichchaya muhu. It is because we repeatedly desire to have in contact with sense objects that we always get into the fear. Prabhupada used to always say the fear increases because when you embrace something which changes. Because we know we are all eternal and we want something everlasting. So when we start embracing something which changes over time, so we get fear. So Prabhupada used to always say that we expect something, and there is the reality is something else, and the gap between two is nothing but a fear. And the materialism and the modern education is teaching us to increase our expectations without looking at the reality of your life. Whereas Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, spirituality teaches us the reality of life, the naked truth of life will be explained. So here Arjuna he's so brave enough, he is so courageous enough to say that I am defeated, and he's acknowledging that I am incompetent, incapable. My Lord, please save me, please protect me. Because he was responsible man, he was knowing the after effects of this Brahmastra weapon. So he just surrendered. So Prabhupada says in many places that as long as one come in contact, as long as our senses desire contact the sense objects for the purpose of enjoyment, independent of the Lord, then miseries and anxieties fill one's heart. And that is the root cause of all the fears. Prabhupada very nicely explains that initially, when our senses come in contact with sense objects, we experience a kind of happiness. And since we don't know that happiness is transitory in nature, it is very temporary, very soon we get disappointed. Why? Because we get disappointed because we are not getting complete satisfaction from that enjoyment. So what we think? We repeatedly think that next time when I come in contact with sense objects, my enjoyment level will be higher. So let me try next time. We all have sufficiently experienced that. Before eating food, we go into the restaurants, and before eating food we order so many things. And then when you find out that you're not able to finish all of them, and you say, this is enough, never I will again order so much. But you would commit the same mistake again when you go to a restaurant. So here Arjuna is completely surrendered himself to the will of the Lord. And he didn't want to, showcase himself that he is very courageous enough, very brave enough. So, very important is, we have to look into the defects which we have and agree to the point that we are all failures. Because, since I said before that we all undergo a lot of miseries and problems and pains and sufferings every day, we try to troubleshoot it, we try to solve it, we try to put an end to it with our tiny intelligence. And that is very nice when you start chanting. I've seen many people have a small notebook with them and a pen, and they get nice ideas how to solve their problems. Prabhuji, I get nice ideas when I'm chanting, so that I can solve my problems. So when I solve all my problems, then I come to Bhagavatam. It is very nice. Peacefully I can come and sit and hear. No, Bhagavatam is to be heard to become peaceful. Not when you put an end to all of your difficulties and traumas and problems and then you come. It can be never ended. It's a futile hope. Prabhupada says it's a futile hope. It's that desperate attempt is a futile hope. It's useless. So we all have to completely surrender to the will of the Lord by chanting the holy name of the Lord, by doing service, by participating in kirtan, by association. This is how we will get a buddhi to act at right time, at right situation. Dadami buddhi yogam tam, we all have heard in Bhagavad Gita that if you want to have right kind of intelligence, then you have to take up spirituality. There's one very nice story concerning this. That once there was a businessman and he had cheated many people, and it so happened one day he was caught red-handed by the soldiers and he was brought in front of the king. And king, looking at all his crimes, that he had cheated many people, he was kind enough. So he ordered him a punishment. He offered him 3 options as a punishment, and he can choose either one of them. So what was the first one? First one was to pay 50,000 gold coins. And the second punishment, second option was to get 50 whip lashes behind his back. And the third one was to drink 5 liters of pure deshi ghee. And this man is by nature was businessman and he was stingy, selfish. So he thought himself, 50,000 gold coins, impossible. I don't want to lose my wealth like this. And 50 whiplashes, very painful, impossible. And 5 kgs, 5 liters of pure, that to deshi ghee, why not? I have done a crime and over and above, they want to honor me with this ghee, why not? With a grave voice, with a strong voice, he said to the king that, My Majesty, Almighty, I would go for third option as a punishment. And the soldiers caught him and took to the kitchen and tied his hands behind his back and started feeding him the ghee, pure deshi ghee. Went on for, he drank 250 ml, 500 ml, 1 liter, 1.5 liter, 2 liter. He could not bear any more. He said, enough, stop. I can't have any more of this. It is so painful. But the soldier said, original idea was to drink 5 liters, but you drank only 2 liters. So to compensate it, you have to select one among the other punishments. Then he said that, okay, I'll go for 50 whiplashes. So immediately the soldiers pulled his hand to the prison house and they tied his hand to the post and ripped apart his clothes, his shirt, and started beating him black and blue. 1, 2, 3, 4. Went on for 15, 20. Finally he could not bear any more with that excruciating pain and said, stop! I cannot take any more. The soldier said, there's only one option left, to pay 50,000 gold coins. So I agreed to that. And finally paid 50,000 gold coins and got released. So here, ultimately, he landed up in taking all the 3 punishments. So to say, if we try to work upon our intelligence to solve our problems, it would ultimately result in more miseries. One after other, one after other. So for that, we have to take up spirituality. We have to practice spiritual things every day, chanting, reading. This is very much important part of our life to keep us happy. Recently we had been to University of Science. By chance, it so happened that we met a few scientists. They were professors in some departments. And we had a very good discussion for half an hour or so. And they were mentioning that Swamiji, spirituality is not required, absolutely not necessary to make a man happy. It's nothing but is a state of brain cells which determine happiness. Another scientist, he said that happiness is nothing but is a brain phenomenon. When you see an object or a situation, immediately some electricity or current is fired through the brain cells. And some complex electrochemical and neuropsychological events take place. Mechanism happens. And that what determines an emotion, and happiness or distress. And I could not bear, I could not hear this anymore. I don't know, because of reading Prabhupada books every day, I got really disturbed. And I said that it is very, very great mistake to draw inferences about their observations like this. Is completely unproven assumption that neuroscience can make people happy. And I gave example, I don't know where it came about, and I immediately that got flashed. And I gave an example that if a person smiles, all the muscles of his facial muscles, all the facial muscles in his face, on his face, contract and relax, expand accordingly. But doesn't mean that contraction, expansion of the facial muscles is all that there is to happiness. And I said, exactly, there's a correlation between the happiness and the facial muscles, but one cannot prove to say that just by movements of the facial muscles causes happiness. Can we do that? And it was in the late afternoon, and I was a little hungry, and they had just finished their lunch. And I also said that, take an example of a person who is hungry, starving, and a person who is well fed. So replicate the brain state of the person who is well fed in the brain of the person who is starving, then you can keep him happy, isn't it? Then I said, yes, very nice, true. Then I said, if that is the case, you could have solved the world hunger, the problem of world hunger. But it isn't like that. But when the stimulus stops, when the stimuli stops, and when he comes to the real world, back to the real world, then he feels hungry. For that we have to feed him with a good nutritious food to keep his body healthy. And they were literally flabbergasted to see such a bacha in science to speak like this. They could not digest it anymore. I said them that if you want to have everlasting happiness, we all have to learn the way we see this world, the events which happens in this world. We should develop that attitude to see this world through the scriptures. And finally they could not resist this, and I gave prasadam. And for next half an hour more, they started appreciating the prasadam. So this is very much important that here Arjuna is completely surrendered to Krishna and is saying that, O Almighty Personality of Godhead, and you alone is competent to mitigate and install fearlessness in the hearts of all your devotees. You alone, and no one else. That's why the Krishna Krishna Mahabaho is twice he is repeating the Krishna Krishna Mahabaho. Krishna name is important. Atvam Tvam Yanabaho, he could have told. Krishna Krishna Mahabaho. Prabhupada says in one of the purports, if something has been repeated twice or thrice, just like we know Hare Rama is repeated twice or thrice. It's just to emphasize, to bring an emphasis and authority to the statement that is repeated twice or thrice. So here also the Krishna Krishna Mahabaho, the name of the Lord is very powerful. There's a very beautiful statement in the Padma Purana where Vyasadeva concludes the whole Padma Purana with this. Satyam Satyam Param Satyam Udrutya Bhujamuchyate Veda Shastram Param Nasti Na Daivam Keshvat Param. So he says, I say the truth, and it's the greatest truth, it's ultimate truth. As there is no truth beyond this, I raise my hands and say, Bhujamuchyate, there is no other knowledge beyond Vedic literature, and there is no other God beyond Keshava. So Krishna Krishna Mahabaho, then he said Mahabaho. So here Arjuna, first time he is addressing Krishna as Mahabaho. I was just little interested to see how many times Krishna might have spoken this Mahabaho to Arjuna, addressed Arjuna. And I got to find out that it is really 14 to 15 times Krishna is addressing Arjuna as Mahabaho, Almighty. And this is the beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam where Arjuna is mentioning Mahabaho to Krishna. So he had completely surrendered himself. Because he understood his fearful condition. And just in the morning I was just coming by, one of Prabhu, Ashram Prabhu, he mentioned that today is very auspicious day. I said, what is that, Prabhu? And he said that today is a day around 79 years back in 1936. Srila Prabhupada received the final order from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur 2 weeks before he disappeared from our mortal vision. So, this is a day. So very important. When something gets clouded in your consciousness, when you don't know what to do next, you ask from your spiritual master. You open your heart and explain to your authorities. And say, Prabhu, I lack in this. There's a defect in me. Let me work upon it and try to purify that. And this is the same instruction where Srila Prabhupada got on this day, 79 years back, to preach to the Western world. So here also Arjuna is completely certain we have to learn this. As beginners of Krishna consciousness, from the beginning of our life, we have to learn to completely say that I am not capable of doing this. It's only by the mercy of the Lord that I can take up. Bhaktaram abhayankara tvameko dakhyamananam apavargosi samsrutehe. Tvamekaha. So Arjuna is addressing that only you alone. And if you see Bhagavad Gita 18 chapter 26, so 66, Sarva dharmam parityajya mamekam. So Arjuna, Krishna is saying mamekam, and here Krishna is saying tvamekam. It's the same thing. So Arjuna is addressing that you alone can mitigate you alone can install the fearlessness in the hearts of all living entities. Actually, in one sense, we are obsessed with this fear, the concept of this fear, every day. We all have come to temple, and we have a lot of systems here, and we don't have to fear about our chappal. But in many temples when you go, we have to be really careful where we have to leave. Some people leave one chappal here, one chappal other, so that thief cannot get his chappals and take him off. For instance, we have to really think that when we come to Prabhupada, many times he says that when we come to temple, we have to leave all of our fears, all our anxieties, all the miseries which you are carrying in whole of the day, where we leave our chappals. So that when you come here, you come with the clear mind, the intention of chanting the holy name of the Lord, association, and glorifying the Lord. This should be our only business. Because hardly once in a week we may come, or a few times in a week. So we should prepare on the other days that how and what should be my activity when I come to the temple, rather than coming here and trying to search what I should do. So here, ekam tvam eko dahyamana. Prabhupada says that Arjuna's version of Lord Krishna is authoritative. Because he had heard the whole Bhagavad Gita and now he is coming to the conclusion, you alone can help me out. Dahyamana. For that, Prabhupada very nicely says, what is dahyamana? Dhatina pavaka, we see in Bhagavad Gita 2nd chapter. Dhati means that which burns us. So what which burns us? That suffering from the fire of fear. Dahyamananam. So Prabhupada says we all are suffering from that fear of fire, that fire of that fear. Nothing is not some brahmastra that like the Arjuna. Prabhupada says that Lord creates that impetus for a living entity, so that he feels that this is not the right place for me to stay here, and I have to go back to Godhead. If the world would have been all the comfort zone, then there is no necessity for spirituality at all. In fact, material energy gives us a lot of troubles and pains and disturbances, so that it is an impetus for us to really think about something which is eternal and everlasting happiness. And Narottam Das Thakur also, one of his songs, he says, Vishayacharya samsara vishanale kiba nishi hiva jale. Kiba nishi hiva jale means jwala is the fire coming out from the poison. The poison of what? Poison of attachment and attractions of this material world. Mati and Rati. Kuntimani, in end of her prayers, she says that we have to direct our Mati and Rati on Madhupati. That is a greatness, that is a fulfillment of human life. And then then we can be completely free from all of our fears. Dakhyamananam. Prabhupada further says that we should be completely engaged, hearing the name, quality, pastimes of the Lord, association with the devotees, hearing the class, and after the class, prasadam, everything. And then what happens? One can be free from the attraction of lusty desires. He can completely forget lusty desires. Prabhupada nicely quotes that, therefore Krishna's name is Madana Mohana. So if you don't contact with Madana Mohana, then you will be suffering from Madana Dahana. So always suffering. Prabhupada further states that to save a surrendered soul from repeated births and deaths, the Lord purifies him of contamination by offering him a little distress. Actually, our real faith is tested when we are in difficulty. Not that everything is goody-goody and fine. Very happy moments. You can really test yourself how much I have faith on the Lord. Actually, we have to increase that faith instead of fear. So that's what we have to take up spirituality, take up the chanting, reading very seriously. So that even if your expectations are high, you will learn to be meek and humble so that you become flexible. You could not reach up at your expectations. And there will be no more fear. That's how, you can see the Prahlad Maharaj, he was not all afraid when Narasimha had appeared. Whereas all the demigods were afraid. And Brahma sends him to pacify Narasimhadev. And the small boy goes in front of the Lord Narasimha, just offers his prayer, the obeisances, and stands in front of him, and there's a whole series of prayers goes on. He is very cool, happy to see the beautiful form of the Lord. Sometimes it so happens, child doesn't eat. So in order to make him eat his lunch, the mother puts a mask. Buddha, say the mask. And puts a Buddha has come, please eat now. The child looking at that, he laughs and he says, I know who is this. Remove this. I know who you are. I know who is this behind this. He's not at all afraid of that mask. So, this is very important to know that Krishna alone is the person who can install fearlessness in everyone, all of our hearts. And even if you see Hanuman and how, without considering the length and breadth of that ocean where other Angada, Jambavan, everyone was thinking, oh, this much I can jump, I can't come back, and all those calculations they should do. This man did not think anything. Come on, Jai Sri Ram, he jumped. Where even Ram had to make a bridge to cross, where this Hanuman just jumped, chanting the holy name of the Lord without considering his incapabilities. Dhakyamana apavargosi samsrutehe. Apavargaha. So what is this? Prabhupada explains that pavarga is a process of suffering here in this material world. Apavarga means the path of liberation. We have heard many times in the purports and in the many other classes also that apavarga vartmani. Apavarga means Prabhupada says that this pavarga, which has been explained in the Sanskrit grammar, that we all have studied, that there is a kavarga, chavarga, pavarga, tavarga, kachatatapa. So each varga has 5 letters in that. And each letter metaphorically denotes our situations in our life. So first is pavarga. Pavarga means parishrama. So every day morning we get up in the morning and we travel so far to far distances to go to our workplace, and we work so hard in spite of getting all the chastisement from our bosses, our family, our friends, colleagues, and targets and so much things. We are practically, by the end of the day, we are so tired because we completely forget everything. So much parishrama for what? By the end of the month he'll get some salary to sustain himself. Is that only because of his salary to sustain himself that we have to work so hard? And the second one is pena, means the foam at the ends of the mouth. Generally when the horses are very tired, you can see the foam which is dripping off from their mouth. So similarly, a person who is so much struggling to earn money day and night, 7 days a week, all through the year, completely forgets himself to eat, to sleep. Practically it happens to all the IT people nowadays. A lot of targets. And they get all types of diseases, ulcers and stomach problems, acidities. Bha means bhyarta. It's useless. What is useless? All through the life the person engages himself to work and he gathers so much of money, so much of wealth, and he spends for the satisfaction of his wife, his children, his relatives, his neighbors. Finally, at the end of one's life, Bhartrihari very nicely says, finally at the end of one's life, relatives come only to the house, the gate. There is a house, there is a gate, till there the relatives will come. And the wife will come till the door of cremation ground. And then the son will come till the funeral pyre. After that you are alone. And we just remain in the photo frames of our houses, just like our grandfathers were, are, and will be we. Hardly we take care of them. It is to us we are speaking now. We hardly look at them. There's a lot of dust, and once in a while we take over that photo and clean it and keep it for some Pitrupaksha during that time, doing some Shraddha. But other times we'll never care them. We'll never look at them. That's what is called a Sutakam. There's a 13th day. For what? Yamadutas leave that soul. That's what when the dead body is burnt While taking the dead body, they put the muri or flowers so that the soul can get back the path home. The soul will come and is left over his house. He hovers around the house and see how his near and dear people are taking care of him after his death. A day passed, 2, 3, 5, and people completely forgot him and start looking at changing the channels, movies. Completely forgot him. This is not to be laughed. It is very pathetic. It is there for us also after our death, if we are not Krishna conscious. And that soul feels so desperate, so frustrated to say that enough. Yamadutas, come, I will come with you. I don't want this family anymore. I did so many things with them, whole of my life, but they are not considering me. They are not looking at me. They are not worrying about me. So vyartha. And baba, ma. And bhaya. Bhaya is always, we are always haunted and we are obsessed with this concept of fear. We are in the office and we are afraid that if someone may overpower us. We have the talent and intelligence. And we are afraid, we are nicely singing in the temple, we are playing mridanga. Nicely singing, we are doing nice things and people are appreciating behind you, in front of you, everywhere. And you are always afraid that you may lose that honor if there is one more person with better abilities, genuine one. And ma is mrityu. So Prabhupada says that because we have accepted this material body, we have to be always remain in anxiety. And you cannot avoid that. And Prahlad Maharaj says, Sada samudvigna dhya masadgrahat. Always anxious. So what is the solution for this? Again, in the 3rd canto, 25th chapter, it says that Satam prasanga mama virya samvedo bhavanti hritkana rasayanam pibaha yajjoshanam asapavargya vartmani. So we have to constantly take association of the pure devotees and hear the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Lord. And this how we can be completely free from all of our fears. And this how, even if you see now, in our ashram, in this temple, there are 82, they say 100 and more brahmacharis in this temple. And they have given up everything. And they have come and they have joined for the mission of the Lord. Initially we are so afraid that, that I have to leave coffee, I have to leave tea, I have to leave onion garlic, I have to leave meat, I have to go to temple once in a week. People will look me something else, look down upon me, and I will be something else out of the society. We have so much of fears. The slow fear is gone. You start wearing tilak to our offices. You start living shika. You start wearing dhoti, and finally dedicate your complete time in our weekends and come and serve the temples for family men. So this is very much important. The Prabhupada says that unless and until if we don't completely take shelter of the holy vibration, transcendental vibration, describing the pastimes of the Lord, one cannot be free from this fear. You'll be always disturbed, one or the other way. If at all, if you feel that you are happy, it's only because you have forgotten your miseries or anxieties, nothing else. Apavargosi samsrutehe. Samsrutihi is, Prabhupada says that samsruti means it's a mist of material miseries. Samsara. We all every day sing samsara dava nala lead loka. Samsara. I always used to say people, iya samsare kakha sukusare. Where is happiness in this samsara? Samsara dhava anala. So it is a fire of material existence. Leader means it has been inflicted. We have been afflicted by this fire of material existence. And how it can be free from that? Tranaya karunya. We can be completely extinguish this fire, the fire of material existence only by the compassion of, only by the mercy of the Guru. So we have to understand that this Samsruti, I will just read out what Prabhupada says about this. This material is called Samsruti, continuously suffering. Within the womb of the mother, there is so much of suffering. And out of the womb, there is suffering. Then growing, there are so many sufferings. Then young man, suppose he becomes a family man, then earning to the family is suffering. This is also suffering. Then old man, disease, inability, many thoughts, this is also suffering. So, and again death is a suffering. So struggle for existence, manasashtan indriyani prakriti sthanaj kashati, as is said in Bhagavad Gita also. We're constantly being troubled by our senses and intelligence and our mind to satisfy them. But it's impossible. We can never be satisfied. We cannot have complete satisfaction, complete happiness in this world without the presence of the Lord. So Prabhupada says, Janma mrityu jara vyadi dukkha doshanu darshanam. Intelligent person should always keep in view that these are my real sufferings. The more materially you become advanced, the more suffering. So he says, apavarga hi samsruta. So only Lord is competent enough to help us out, counteract the fearlessness, counteract the fears which is there within us. So here it says, bhaktanam abhayankaram. So generally the fear is defined as something which is an unpleasant sensation caused by uncomfortable situation or fear and pains. So it's defined as something unpleasant sensation caused by uncomfortable situation and pains. So to understand the concept of fear, there is very beautiful sloka in 11th canto, 2nd chapter, where we have been hearing this sloka many times, but let's discuss it again nonetheless. Bhayam dvitiya abhiniveshatasya ishadapetasya viparyo asprutihi. So it is said that the fear arises in a living entity when he misidentifies himself with this material body because of his deep absorption in the external illusory energy of the Lord. And this is the cause of our fears. So a person undergoes these 3 stages. What is that? The first is Ishad apetasya. Ishad means the Lord, Supreme Lord. Apetasya means he is turning away from the Lord. Everything was fine when we were in spiritual world, when our desires was one with the Lord's desires, and we are cooperating with the Lord's plan. Everything was fine, happy, beautiful. But when we desired, when we turned away from the Lord, immediately we are caught and we are sent to this material world. As a result of this, what would happen? Asmrutihi. So completely that forgetfulness. So when we become rebellious of the Lord, then you completely forgot your constitutional position of being part and parcel of God and also being servant of God. So as a result of that, the third stage is what? Viparyayo. Since we have to identify with something, so we identify ourselves with this matter, material body, material objects, material things. And that's how that fear arises within one's heart. So we have to understand this. In the same chapter, in the before verse, say it is 5th verse, it says, Yaya sammohita jiva atmanam trigunatmakam paropi manute nartam. So he is saying that Yaya sammohita jiva, the living entity is always free from all of these 3 modes of material nature. It's just like a drop of oil, even if you put in the ocean, it will not get mixed. It's not that I am in the ocean, I am so much afraid, so let me get into become one with that ocean. No, it always remains even a drop of oil. So similarly, the divinities, they are always transcendental to the three modes of material nature. But when he identifies himself as a material product, then all the reactions of this material miseries begin. So, in this context, there is the great devotee, his name is Bhartrhari, and he lists what are the fears a person undergoes in his life. So he lists 9 of them. The first and foremost, he says, actually he explains in one of his beautiful literature called as Vairagya Shatakam. So there he says, Bhoge rogi bhayam, kule chuti bhayam, vitta drupalad bhayam, mane dhainya balam, bale ripu bhayam, rupe jaraya bhayam, shastre vadi bhayam, gune khala bhayam, kaye krutanta bhayam. So what is this? What are the 9,000 fears that we all experience? The first and foremost is bhoge rogi bhayam. A bhogi, a person who is very much engrossed himself in sense gratification, is very much afraid of getting disease. We also generally, when we sit in front of our dining table and we really think what we have to eat, not much oily, not much sugar, not much salty, because we are afraid that you will suffer later because of maybe anything, cholesterol or obese or sugar, diabetes. Bhoge rogi bhayam and kule chuti bhayam. Kule means a family heritage and chuti means, say, dishonor. So there's always a person feels insecure in his family life because something or other may take up in his life. He has the thinking that right now I don't have children, I will get child or not, and even after getting a child or a son, I don't know whether this child will bring name and fame to me or not. His growing is so mischievous, and now we are getting all the chastisement from my neighbors. Or when he become big, become old, and how he would take care of us, people look down, look upon, and we will be the part of their, we'll become a laughing stock, and they speak about us. So it's always a fear, and that too. I had one friend who was very wealthy in my college. It so happened he got on to smoking, and I was thinking what his father came to know, and I thought that his father would chastise him or start beat him up. But what he said was, "Beta, it's very nice you are smoking, but make sure that you smoke a filtered one. The bidi is very dangerous." He stays just in Malleshwaram still now, and then after that he started drinking, got up drinking, and father came to know, and the response of the father was, "Beta, make sure that you drink only Angrezi sharab, not the desi one." So fear is there even in that class of people, saying that something other suffering would come upon. So, and over and above, what to speak about that? If someone becomes very serious in Krishna consciousness, fear arises in the family. If a husband becomes Krishna consciousness, you become very serious in Krishna consciousness, wife get afraid. If a children becomes serious in Krishna consciousness, parents becomes afraid of it. And we have to understand that we are constantly being tormented and haunted by this concept of fear. It so happened when Prabhupada was preaching in the West, there were 2 devotees, Brahmananda Prabhu and Gargamuni Prabhu. So Brahmananda Prabhu and he recently passed away a year back. So both took up Krishna consciousness very seriously. They shaved their head. They became a full-time missionaries and started serving in the society. And so happened over a month or so, their mother came with angry face. She came, she wanted to meet Prabhupada. She met Prabhupada and said, Swamiji, what you have done? You have taken away my boys. It's not good. And Prabhupada, cool-minded. So he replied that, I have not done anything to your sons. Actually, they were hippies. They were loitering on the streets. I picked them from the streets and started feeding them. And I have given them good accommodation, the good food, and a lot of entertainment of music and dance and feast. In fact, instead of you complaining this, you should be paying me because I am taking all of their maintenance. And she got really very much astonished to hear this. And she said, impossible, I can't give any donation. I've given my boys as a donation and that's it. And she just left the place and Prabhupada said, thank you. And this is very much important, Kule Chuti Bhayam. This is very much important that it so happened that recently one family came to me with a small kid and I just asked them casually, hey beta, what do you want to become when you grow old? And that boy said, I want to become a devotee, I want to shave up, I want to become devotee and come to ashram. And a father hearing this, hey beta, please, this is only for Sunday. What about, how about becoming a doctor, engineer? Because he was afraid that he would answer the same thing to his friends, father's friends. And with great humiliation. Previously I used to take Kannada classes and when Mataji used to sit in front of, and she had two sons and one of the son was in America. So was about to go to America. And she was coming and saying that, Prabhuji, please call my son and tell him that he has to go to America. He got an proposal from his company, an opportunity, but he's saying that I want to work here. I don't want to go to America. I said that, Mataji, what you are doing? What you are saying this? And what is use of you coming to this class and for so many years and hearing that? So, Chuti Bhayam and Man Vitte Drupalad Bhayam. Vitte means wealth. Drupalad Bhayam means afraid. A person who is very wealthy is afraid of something that he may lose. And people say that we are not afraid. It is very false. If that is the case, why they have to have so many security systems and surveillance systems for their houses? They have all the assurities, insurances, policies. It shows what? They have cameras and all the surveillances in their house, scanners, to protect themselves, grilled houses, to protect themselves. They are afraid, obviously, but they say, I'm not afraid of anything. But their activities show that how much they are fearing that they may lose. In this context, there is a beautiful story which has been explained in the Padma Purana. That was one miserly person who had age-old father and he had just passed away. So this man brought the dead body to the Ganges and he just thought to himself, he was so miserly, he just thought to himself, if at all if I want to get this last rites done, Antya Samskar, and I have to hire a pandit and some ingredients and so many expenditures, impossible, I can't take up this. So what he said, so what he thought is, let me leave the body to the Mother Ganges and she can take better care. And who can take better care than mother? So he was about to leave the dead body in the river. And it's because his father had practiced Krishna consciousness all through his life. And also this miserly son had also helped his father sometime. So Lord Vishnu himself, in the disguise of a Brahmana, appeared in front of him and said, Sir, what you are doing is not right. It is very sinful to do this. No problem. Anyway, it's a last rite. I'll just take 125 rupees and get all the rites done. Is it okay? And this man said, I have not spent this 125 in the whole of my life. And should I spend it for this last rites? Impossible. And started bargaining. And finally they settled with how much, 1 rupee 25 paisa. And finally the Brahmana finished with all of his rituals and burning the dead body and leaving the ashes to the river and with other rituals. And finally this Brahmana came to this miserly person and he said, please give my dakshina of 1 rupee 25 paisa. And this man said, this is very inauspicious place, cremation ground. I cannot give it here. You come after 13 days to my house. And he somehow wanted to get rid of this Brahmana. And it so happened, the Brahmana came to the house of this miser on 13th day and knocked the door. Wife came outside and he said that your husband has agreed to give the dakshina because I had done last rites for your father-in-law. So please get that money. I have to go. And his wife went inside and informed him. And this miserly husband, he said, oh my God, he has come back again. So I have to get rid of him. Somehow or other, he said that, go and tell him that I am not in the house. And she came back and said that he is not in the house. This Brahmana looked around, he saw a small chair and he just pulled it and sat there and said, no problem. I will wait till he comes. And she informed the same thing to the husband. And the miserly husband, he heard this and he said, go and tell him that just now my husband has come and he is very sick and he cannot meet anyone right now for time being. And she went back and she informed him, she informed the Brahmana that my husband has just now came and he is very sick, he cannot meet anyone right now. This Brahmana was just fanning and he said, no problem, I will wait till his sicknesses get cured. And when his husband heard this, he informed the wife that you go outside and break your bangles, remove your kumkum, say that husband is dead. And he could not give you any money. She went outside and started breaking her bangles and removed her kumkum and started shouting and screaming and crying. And all people gathered there. And he said, no problem, I did last rite for your father-in-law, I will do last rite for your husband also. And this man started acting as though he is dead. He was so miserly, he didn't want to lend off that 1 rupee 25 paisa also. And the people took his body and brought to the banks of Ganges and he was placed on the funeral pyre. And all rituals got over and there was a final rite of putting fire. Then he got the heat and opened his eyes. And immediately started running away he got out from the funeral pyre and started running away. And seeing this, Brahmana was so amused to see that to such an extent people get attached to the money and started laughing and laughing so heavily. And this fellow who was running and he came back to this Brahmana and said, hey, why are you laughing? Then this Brahmana Vishnu was in disguise of Brahmana, he revealed himself, he said, with the 400 form. He said that, I am so much pleased because you have made me happy, you made me laugh. I want to benedict you with something. Please ask me whatever you want. And this fellow came near to Vishnu and he said in a soft voice, please forgive me. Please excuse me. What do you know? That 1 rupee 25 paisa. And I don't want anything more than this. And this is a height of miserliness. It's very much true that where we spend so much lavishly for our family life, but when we think of donating something to temple, we always count it. Vitte Nupalad Bayam Mane Dhainya Banam. Mane means honor, respect in the society. So always a person who is respected in society is afraid of losing those respect. If sometimes happens we are in the temple and a devotee, because of some mistake or something, devotee scolds him in front of everyone, and from there that is the end. Stop coming to temple. Mane Dainya Banam. Bhale Ripu Bayam. The person who is very strong, who is very healthy and strong and very powerful, is afraid of person who is more powerful than him, because he is afraid that he outright me. And Rupe Jaraya Bayam, a person who is very beautiful is afraid on the onset of losing that beauty because of old age. And it's very much true. When we go in front of our mirrors, we'll be all beautiful. No one has to certify it. We all will be beautiful for our own the way. And we all are afraid that how we become old and white hairs come about and skin starts sagging and wrinkles come about and people start not recognizing us. So we're all afraid of that. If you don't mind, I will take 10 more minutes. Shastre Vadi Bhayam. So a person who is very much learned, is scholarly, is afraid of person who can outright him in scholarship. We also, when we are talking in a groups, so we want to prove that I am right. And if you feel, and if someone with a better ideas, if he come about and defeats you, it's a great dishonor. Gune Khalabhayam. And a person who is a pretender, having the good qualities, is afraid of a person who is genuinely having some good qualities. And Kaye Krutanta Bhayam. Kaye means this body. And every one of us are afraid of losing this body. The fear. So this kind of fear always haunts us. So the only way of getting out of this fear is by taking up what Prabhupada has given to us. The first and foremost, Prabhupada used to say that we can't change the reality, but we can change our expectations and become more flexible. So that's how Prabhupada used to say, first and foremost, you have to take up chanting of Hare Krishna mantra. That's what Bhagavatam says, Apanna samsuktim goram yennama vyaso grinan. We have been caught by the mesh of birth and death. It's very ghoram, fearful. Yennama vyaso grinan. Vivashaha means simply by unknowingly, simply you take chanting, then Swayam Bhibeti Swayam Bhayam. The fear personified also is afraid of the Lord. And simply by taking the holy and chanting the holy name of the Lord, immediately your fears will be dissolved, can be removed off. So this is where I would end up with one pastime of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It so happened, Prabhupada mentions in one of his purports that Jiva Swami states that every incarnation came with one or the other weapon along with them. Like Narsimha came with his Nakha, or the Rama came with Dhanush, and Parushu came with Parushu. Similarly, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, also came with his weapon. What is that weapon? Beauty. He came with that weapon. Prabhupada says, Jiva Goswami mentions in one of the purports, Prabhupada mentions that. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so beautiful, so enchanting, so captivating, that anyone used to simply see the beauty of the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, immediately the Krishna Bhakti used to arouse in their hearts. And that too, it was the time when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had taken his sannyas, he had shaven his head. Suvarnavarna, so beautiful in golden complexion. And he was having a loin cloth over his lower waist and just a cloth over his neck. It was very beautiful to look at. Very long. Ajanu lambita bhujo, kanakavadato. So this word spread across whole Navadvip. That Chaitanya was taking sannyas, we have to take darshan of him. And it so happened, Chaitanya Prabhu wanted to go to Vrindavan immediately after his sannyas. But because his mother Sachimata requested him to stay in Jagannath Puri, he agreed to that. And many months and years passed, and he decided after that to go to Vrindavan. So he came to Navadvip, and after that to Ramkeli, from Ramkeli to Jharkhand and Vrindavan, like that. It so happened when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to Navadvip, thousands of people followed him, continuing to go to Vrindavan. But Sanatana Goswami proposed that it is not a good idea to take thousands of people, that you may not experience the ecstasy of Krishna Bhumi. You should go alone. So somehow Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to get away from all the people who are following him. And meanwhile, all the people in the Navadvip got to know that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to Navadvip and he is staying in the house of Vijayavachaspati. Actually, Vidyavachaspati was the brother of Sarva Bhattacharya. And Sarva Bhattacharya had gone to Mithila to learn Navadnyaya. And after that, on the invitation of Prataprudra, he came to Jagannath Puri to teach Navadnyaya in Jagannath Puri. That's how he stayed there. In one sense, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's grandfather is a great friend of Sarva Bhattacharya's father. So there was a great relationship. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and stayed in the house of Vidyavachaspati for a while, and immediately Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left that place in the night. And immediately after next morning, thousands of people started flooding to the house of Vidyavachaspati because they got to know the information that he is there, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is there, we have to have his darshan. Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was well-known name. He had defeated Keshava Kashmiri and he had started his own school, and he was, through his bhakti movement, he had made so many of them, the devotees. So now they wanted to see the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in that attire. So with great hopes, they left their homes in the early morning, deciding that we will not return back the same body if we can't see Lord today. So they all went to Vidyavachaspati's house and knocked his door, and he came outside, and they started screaming to him, shouting at him, saying that you are so miser, you are keeping this all with you alone. Why are you not trying to distribute this? And there Vidyavachaspati said, no, the Chaitanya has left my place. He is no more with me now. He has left to Kulyagram. Prabhupada says in one of his purport that Kulyagram was also known as Aparadha Bandhana Kshetra, where all of the people who had offended Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to be forgiven in that place. So they were all shouting at Vidyavachaspati, and finally a messenger came about and said that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has gone to the house of Madhav Ghosh in the Kulyagram. And in the Madhav Ghosh, it so happened that place is little far away from the place. They have to cross the river, and it is on the other end of the island. So everyone had to cross the river. It so happened they were so desperate to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and they saw a boat nearby, and there were thousands of them. So they ran and they got into the boat, one by each of them. And the person who was a boatman was so happy that he could have a good business. So he started calling all of them, come on, all of you please get onto this boat. And practically everyone squeezed into that boat, thousands of them. I'm not exaggerating, it is the truth. It is a history which has been explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita. And practically all of them, then I got onto this boat, and without considering the weight of the people, taking the account of weight of the people, this fellow said, okay, come on. And they left the river and they went to the mid of the river. He was almost rowing at the middle of the river. And it was in the evening, late evening, and the clouds formed, black clouds, and it started raining heavily. And thunderstorms and stormy winds. And it so happened, everyone got so afraid. It was so dreadful evening. And everyone started chanting the holy name of Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Everyone started screaming so loudly. And it so happened, because of the turbulent wind and the river was so unstable, it became terrifying. The boat started sinking. The people who knew swimming, even in that unpleasant waters, such chaotic waters, somehow crossed the river. And people who knew little swimming saw that some wood logs was just floating by. They caught hold of that and just got transferred to the land. And some people who didn't know any swimming, they saw that these two people have crossed already. They simply jumped down to the river, trying their ways to cross the river, push the waters, and somehow they also got saved, and they got crossed from the river and reached the other part of the river. And it's very important to say that if one takes up, one completely surrenders, because they had one goal of seeing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and they left the houses early in the morning. At the same time, they were all chanting the holy name of the Lord at the point of their difficulty. And this is how, even though they didn't have any capabilities talents they are bestowed with. Many great spiritual leaders now appreciate Srila Prabhupada, saying that he has done a great thing where no one could do even now. With all of the technological advancement which we have with emails and Facebooks and all those things. Prabhupada did everything at that time. And he was bestowed with the Krishna Bhakti. And such a great spiritual master we have, and his name is Abhaya Charnaravinda. Bhajohu Remana Srinanda Nandana Abhaya Charnaravindare. So if we take his shelter, we also completely become free from all of our fears. So this is very much important, that we don't have to look upon any other literatures or go to any other organizations. Everything is rightly given here. And it's very simple and easy. And we all have to just simply spend our time in chanting the holy name of the Lord and reading Srimad Bhagavatam and hearing from the right source, and have few questions at the end of the week. Whenever you come to temple, speak to some devotees. Don't think, keep away all our things, and you are so big and so many years you have been coming, how shall I ask from this young brahmachari? No, keep it aside. You can't progress in spiritual life if you have this in mind. We will fall off from our progress in spiritual life. Just keep aside. You speak to people, speak to devotees. And that's how, because miraculously things will come out from the mouths of the devotees, because if it is genuine one, Prabhupada speaks through anyone. So keep aside all of your things and, just come temple. Don't spend your time in, frivolous talks on the roads or on the somewhere sitting there. Take Bhagavatam. Start discussing. It is very relishing. And come to temple and appreciate the beauty of the Lord. That how many tulsis has been stuck to his lotus feet, and what is the color combination of flower garland at his clothes and jewelry. Meditate upon that. And serve devotees. So this how, by serving devotees, by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, and meditating about the beautiful Lord, the form of the Lord, and by chanting the holy name of the Lord, we can be completely free from all of our fears. That's what here Arjuna is saying, that only Lord is competent enough to bestow fearlessness in all of us. Ending thus, any questions are there? Having said this, thank you everyone. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.